Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. If you probably know right about now, TNA are in their go-home show before one of their biggest pay-per-views of the year, Slammiversary. Now, for those who may not know this or not, Slammiversary is their version of WrestleMania, in case anybody asks. So anything could happen before we get there. As you know, we have talent from NXT as well making their appearance as well. So we'll see what happens. And then we move on with Ring of Honor with various interesting matches. Of course, we have talent from CML also making their place. Michael Oku from Ref Pro also is in it, and plenty other things as well. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing ChocoPro's much recent event with number 461. Now keep in mind, they are preparing themselves for the next big event at Tokyo Square a little later. So I can't wait to review that one when that day comes. But right now, let's focus on this one with all three matches. And then as always, let's cap up our episode with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in the world pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introduction has been said. Let's get down to business. So, let's begin with our first review, and this is, of course, ChocoPro. Alright, first review, ChocoPro number 461, back in Ichigaya Square. This took place on the 13th of July. Now we do have some preliminary matches involving for the big show again in Tokyo Square. Now, as usual, the entire show was opened up with, of course, with the general manager of ChocoPro, Io Kizuki, of course, doing the greeting and also the info. But for your information here, FYI, General Manager AOI actually refereed the first two matches of the entire event, so she actually can play ref as well, in case anybody asks. If you see this entire match itself. Now, our first match, we have tag team action. We have Kaho Hiromi teaming up with Balanaki to take on Antonia Honda and Tokiko Kirihara, better known as Black Komanagi. So it's obviously in some factors, as you all know, Antonio and Tokiko are in fact, of course, a very strong but a very cohesive tag team, which is the strong factor. But if you look at Kaho and Balanaki, now we know that Balanaki, along with May, they have teamed up with Kaho before, but they're not yet in that same type of cohesion. But she's like another version of Mei Shruga, but much nicer, of course, you know? But in the reality of the factor is Kaho being the weakest link of the entire match because A, she's smaller, two, she's least experienced, and much easy for someone to take the put the fall on her. And that's exactly what happened when Tokiko pinned her, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Next match, we do have another tag team match. We have Soy teaming up with Sayaka Obihiro, or as we know her, Obi. They take on Mei Shruga, our current Super Asian champion. She teams up with one half of the uh, Asian Dream Tag Team champion, Makoto, who is in fact teaming with Sayaka, but she's not scheduled for this particular day. But it's interesting to see two different. But not only that, for those who may not know this, Makoto is also in fact the Beyond the Sea champion from the promotion Seedling. So basically, you have two champions in the same thing. So, but they have wrestled against each other before, and they teamed up because they participated in the Grand Prix in the women's division in CML. So that kind of sets it up right there for them. But the real question is how this was going to turn out. Well, in the end, it was Makoto who picked up the win when she applied a chokehold on Soy, and just like that, Soy actually tapped out, so it was completely over. Now, our main event, we have singles action. We have Hiroyi Yawada taking on Mia Yatsuba. Now, of course, Hiroyi, we've seen her how much she has grown, but Mia, in my opinion, we have seen her grown significantly because A, we know she's preparing herself for her biggest match of her career, which is, of course, taking on Mei Shruga for the for the Super Asian Championship, which is a title she has aimed before, but now she has to aim again. But this is like a warm-up for her. But the real question is, can she pull it off? Well, she actually did when she applied a submission move, a move that she never done before. This is something I would say, who Mei Shruga, if for those who did not see this, she was actually the referee of this match. But if I was Mei, I would pay attention to your student because you may not have taught her this move. She might have figured out her own, and this would be a big problem. But we'll see what happens until then. So, just like that, Mia actually won by submission. Now, for our Junkin tournament, well, I can tell you this one. It ended, of course, with Mei Shruga winning the entire tournament. Runner-up is Tokiko Kirihara, just like that. So, that's how things ended with ChocoPro. So, let's move on to our next review, and I believe this one is TNA. Okay, TNA. As you all know, this is the go home show before we head to Slammiversary, one of their big shows, their version of WrestleMania. Now, of course, anything could happen before then. However, we opened up with our match with our current TNA X Division champion, Moose, taking on Sammy. So, a lot of things could happen in this match. But, however, Moose, as you know, as being the strongest wrestler, not to mention Alicia being by his side, was able to pick up the win when he applied the spear. And then, of course, there was a promo by Alicia, and Moose is trying to tell Sammy, just retire, Sammy. It's over. You're done. Just like that. So, that's how it is. But, however, the next match we have is, of course, Moose's brethren, the System, taking on the Order of Five. But, however, the match never took place. If you guys probably know what happened, well, it turns out Dark State once again invaded TNA and attacked, of course, the System, leaving, of course, the Order 5. You know what? I'll leave you guys to it, so we're just walking away this way. So that really happened. So we did see, of course, an interview with Danny Luna, who will be facing Tessa Blanchard. As you know, Tessa Blanchard is going to face Indy Hartwell in Slammiversary, in case anybody asks. But of course, wherever Tessa Blanchard is, Victoria Crawford, or formerly known as Alicia Fox, was going to be by her side. And of course, Crawford was going to interfere in this match, which was obvious. And then, of course, Tessa applied the Magnum um, bomb, and just like that, 1, 2, 3 is over. And then, of course, the beatdown on Dani Luna by Tessa and Crawford. Well, luckily, Indy Hartwell showed up to deal with it. So, as you know, this is going to be a showdown coming up real soon. Now, the inspiration, as you know, they decided to do a little video promo, talk about their opponents for their upcoming TNA Knockouts tag team belts. As you probably know, the inspiration are trying to say we don't need security to escort us and all this, and they are confident enough to believe that they will walk out as the TNA Knockouts tag team champion. So we'll see what that leads us. Now, the Elegance brands, of course, consistent Ash by Elegance, Heather, and M made their presence known in the ring. Now, Ash, as you all know, she is the #1 contender for a shot of the TNA Knockouts World title. But however, Ash is feeling like, it's a little horse crap that people are talking about Masha and JZ Jane. She feels like she's being overlooked. But however, JZ Jane feels, hey JZ, I'm the one who's going to challenge for this belt, because in reality, you're not even at the top of the game. So she's saying to her, you're in the bottom, I'm up here. And of course, Ash does not like it. And of course, Masha showed up, try to get into the ring, but Ash is trying to get in her face, saying, don't forget I'm the one challenging. But Masha was like, it just pushes her like, whatever, and just like that. And Ash was like, you're not, ignore me, that sort of thing. But they're like, the rest of the Elegant brands are like, no, don't deal with that, don't deal with it. But that's exactly what kind of happened right there. But of course, Masha, as you know, has been the top of the TNA Knockouts for who knows how long. But she did state it that she is banned by herself to allow if someone takes the TNA Knockouts World title from an outsider. So she even said, I don't need friends to help me out, unlike you. But she did tell her one thing. She asked her, do you have what it takes to take me out, make my heart stop? And of course, I think Jay-Z is in that position. Like, is she capable? We don't know. I mean, we know Jay-Z Jane will do whatever it takes to prove that she should be at the top of the mountain. But we'll pay attention in Slammiversary. Now, in the back, we did see Dani Luna being checked out, Indy Hartwell being by her side, and Jody Threat showed up. But it seems like there was a bit of a, Dani Luna, like, wondering, what the hell are you doing here? I thought we were done. But she even mentioned that Indy was there to save her. So, you know how that goes on. I don't know if there's going to be like a bit of a team up with Dani and, of course, Indy, but we'll see. Our next match, we have Judas Icarus taking on Hometown Man. Now, if you probably remember, Eric Young has been trying to prove that Hometown Man is none other than Cody Deaner. But, of course, the Director of Authority, Santino Morella, is trying to tell him, prove to me that Hometown Man is Cody Deaner. So, of course, Eric Young sends Judas Icarus to deal with it. And, of course, Travis Williams is right there. But they nearly tried to take off the mask, but it failed. But in the end, the Hometown Man walked away with the win with a sliced bread onto Icarus. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But Eric Young made his presence known to try to prove that it is Cody Deaner. But Hometown Man just skedaddled. Now, as you all know, we saw Enzo Amore, now goes by Fourth Rope or something, I don't know. Well, apparently he is saying that he's coming to Slammiversary and he's not going alone. So it's still unclear what exactly is happening. So we will pay attention to that. Now, we did see, of course, Steve Maclin, as you know, our current TNA International Champion. Well, it seems that he's looking for an opponent, but apparently he doesn't have nothing for Slammiversary, so we'll see what happens there. Now, we did have, of course, Matt Cardona versus Jake Painter. However, this match turned into a no contest with the arrival of Dark State. Last time, they once again attacked, and it became a 4-on-1. But Brian Myers showed up out of nowhere and tried to help Matt Cardona, but it was just too much with the numbers game until the rest of the system, JDC and Eddie Edwards, showed up with weapons to deal with Dark State. So it looks like we are going to see a bit of a TNA versus NXT type of match. I don't know if that could happen in Slammiversary. That is something we don't know, but we will see. Now, before our event ends, we did see a bit of a final message from the Hardys. As you know, the Hardys are in the cups. Possibly this could be the end for them if they don't win the tag team belts. But of course, Leon Slater, who is a friend but also a lifelong fan of the Hardys, was trying to get them, motivated in all this. So, but however, First Class, as you know, showed up, tried to prove their point that they are the ones walking out. So is the Menace Brothers and the Rascals. But we don't know what's going to happen, so we'll see. Our next match, which is our main event, is Frankie Kazarian teaming up with Trick Williams to take on Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. Now, as you all know, Trick Williams is our current TNA World Champion. He'll be defending the title in a three-way between both Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. So, as you probably know, Joe Hendry and Mike Santana have to work together. But you know that there's going to be a bit of the, alpha male type of maneuver here. But it did. Mike Santana tagged himself in and put Frank Kazarian in the spinner block. And just like that, 1, 2, 3 is over. However, right before the program ended, a bit of a treasure chest appeared. And that treasure chest is, of course, you know who I'm talking about, the Phenomenal One. Now there's been rumors about him returning. We don't know when, but it could be possibly in Slammiversary. We just have to wait and see. Now, there have been talks about this before, if AJ has ever considered, but, I mean, we always will tie him to, TNA for a long time, no matter if he's in WWE or he's in AW or wherever he's going to be at. But he'll always be one of the best TNA wrestlers of all time. So, we'll end things here right now with TNA and move on to our last and final review, and that is, of course, Ring of Honor. Alright, last review, Ring of Honor. We opened up with Lee Johnson versus Atlantis Jr. Of course, this could be a good match for Lee Johnson in some capacity for two reasons. One, Atlantis Jr. is a second generation wrestler. He can try to prove that he can take him on, but not to mention, maybe of course Lee Johnson could put himself in a contingency for the ROH World Television title. But of course, Atlantis Jr., as you know, is one of the most popular wrestlers, not only here in the States, but also in Mexico. So you probably can guess, and not to mention, freaking Bray Christian will probably be by his side. But in the end, it was Atlantis Jr. with the usual frog splash that allowed him to pick up the victory. Now, we did see, of course, Diamante making her return for this time and taking on Maya World. Now, of course, Diamante most likely was the logical wrestler to win this match, which she did when she applied Code Red. And just like that, 1, 2, 3 is over. Now, we did see, of course, our current ROH Women's World Champion, Athena, as you know. Once again, as you know, she's making her next play, not only to be the forever champion in ROH, but also the forever champion in AW. As you probably know, she is making now her initial challenge for the AW Women's World title. As you know, she is trying to prove now that she is the actual person who will destroy Toni Storm and put her down once and for all. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, of course, ROH are happy with the fact that double champion Dustin Rhodes, our current one half of the ROH World Tag Team Champions and 1/3 of the 6-man Tag Team Champions, is now TNT Champion, which is huge. I mean, we know through history he has challenged for this belt on various occasions. That first time was right after his brother Cody lost to the late Brody Lee, and a few other locations, including one of them involving Sammy. So we'll see where that goes. Now, our next match, we have Michael Oku taking on Jay Lethal. I have to say, this was a pretty good match. I mean, Michael Oku is a fantastic wrestler. I mean, he kind of reminds me a bit of a different type of version of Will Ospreay. You know, starting out as a junior heavyweight competitor, going to heavyweight, which is pretty cool. But he has to face against the former ROH World Champion, and I think this could be another opportunity in hopes that he could initialize himself for future title shots for the world title. But Jay Lethal, being the veteran he is, he picked up the win when he applied Lethal Injection, and just like that, 1, 2, 3. It's over. Now, last week we saw the Frat House, as you know, suffered a loss when they thought they had everything under control by defeating, of course, Dark Order. But Preston Van's passes came back to bite him in the ass with the return of Brody Lee Jr. If you remember, Brody Lee Jr. and Preston Van used to be tight, but of course, that kind of screwed things up. But however, they decided, you know what, let's just relieve this whole stress and go out for a drink at the bar. So that's exactly what they did. Now, our main event, we feature Angelico versus Hechicero. Now, this is another example for one of those matches where we can see pure wrestling style, but however, it's not. But we do have a bit of a technical aspect. Now, we have seen Angelico picked up some great submission moves, but Hechicero, who is far more craftier and of course in technical wrestling, was able to pick up the win when he applied like a move that is not a submission, but something that would put him out for good. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, Serpentico tried to check up on Angelico until he was attacked by Rocky Romero, but Hologram made his presence known to the save of both Angelico and Serpentico. I mean, we would have seen Bandito, but I'm sure he had other fish to fry at some other location. But we'll see what happens until then. But as of right now, we are officially done with our reviews. Let's move on to our last and final thing, news updates. Alright, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin as always with upcoming events. Now, recently Stardom has announced for an upcoming title match. Excuse me. A title match on the 24th of July at Corkin Hall. Now, it's going to be for the High Speed Championship. May Sita defends her belt for the first time since she won this belt back in early March. No one has challenged her whatsoever, but the challenger is none other from Pro Wrestling Wave, Honoka. So that's going to be an interesting match. Now, our next match, we have the collaboration between Prestige Wrestling, West Coast Pro, and Deadlock Pro Wrestling with Cruel Summer on the 26th. Unfortunately, this event was announced that Takumi Iroha is unable to participate, but they replaced her with the current TNA Knockouts World Champion, of course, Masha Slamovich. So she'll be involved in this event. And then finally, as you know, more names are being added for the upcoming Wrestling Revolvers Jerry Lynn Invitational that'll happen on August 9th. The 10th participant in this invitational is Brent Oakley, and I believe he's a member of the Alpha Sigma. So that's pretty much for the upcoming events. Now for our one development, as you all saw what happened in All In, Samoa Joe was taken out by Claudio Castagnoli. Well, it turns out Fightful Select reports that the reason that happened is because he will be expected to miss due to Twisted Metal's the promotion. So for those who may not remember, Samoa Joe plays the character of Sweet Tooth, and he will probably miss out. It's not the first time it happened, but it's very common. As you know, Samoa Joe's been participating. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for our news updates. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, I have not decided yet what I'm going to do for the next episode. I'm still thinking about it. We'll just see. I might have to wing it and maybe just surprise you or something. I don't know. But we'll see. But as of right now, we'll end things here. And then I'll say this, and I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day.